Hello, is this working? Can you hear me? Good evening, everybody. This is the July 12th meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Public Services Commission. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight, call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call the roll. Riley?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Schmidtke?
Here.
Ron Wilder will not be here this evening. Nelson?
Present.
Budney?
Here.
Benaz?
Here.
And Kostick. So we have a quorum. I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's supported that this evening's agenda be approved as distributed. Are there any additions or changes proposed? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are the agenda is approved. Next item is approval of the minutes of our June 14th meeting. You've all had a chance to look at them.
I'll abstain.
Okay, because you weren't here.
Correct. I'll move to have the minutes approved for June 14th, 2016.
I will support that.
Supported that the minutes be approved. Any further discussion? I do have one point I want to raise. Page 3 of the packet, which is page 2 of the agenda minutes. We talked about the fact that we do not have what is viewed as a current contract with the Detroit Water System, which is now called the Great Lakes Water Authority. The minutes reflect that we were going to get a committee together, Lorinda, to organize some meetings. And I think that we were going to try to get Ted as the township treasurer, Jim Budney as a trustee, and at least myself and anybody else that's interested, the township attorney, and Vito from OHM to try to schedule some meetings, begin at least to have a discussion of what's involved.
Closer to the mic, will you, Bill?
Sorry, okay. I'll get closer to it this way. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
So I think that I just don't want to lose track of that. I want to make sure we follow up. My proposal is try to meet in September, after Labor Day, sometime. I don't want to lose track of that.
Okay.
We ought to at least have some discussion on that issue.
I'll make arrangements.
Other than that, any other comments about the minutes? If not, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next, you have item number 6, approval of bills. You've all had a chance to look at the bills. Are there any questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Moved and supported that the bill is found on pages 7 through 12 of our packet be approved. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The vouchers are approved. You have a statement of revenues and expenditures for our water and sewer systems and our refuse system. For your information, we're only a couple months into the fiscal year. Any questions? If not, we'll receive and file those. Finally, item number 8, we have a treasurer's report. And you've all had a chance to look at that. Entertain a motion to receive and approve the treasurer's report.
So moved. Second.
So we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report as received for June. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Treasurer's report's received. I would like to propose that since we have some residents here, I think off Cheshire Court or Manchester, that we switch the agenda around a little bit and move up discussion item 12.1, the Cheshire Court drainage report. And that's found on pages 27 through 29 of your packet, if you could refer to those. This is an item we've discussed a couple of times, and Mr. Nick DeClaudio has been before the commission before. And I'd just like to indicate that we have a revised cost estimate from our engineers. And what happened after the last meeting, and we've gone back and forth on what to do. And you have a revised map, and I think those residents also have a copy of the map. You recall the issue, the map shows on page 29 that there's 2 courts that run off Manchester, Thorpe Court and Cheshire Court. It turns out that when this property was platted and developed, Cheshire Court ends on Manchester, or outlets onto Manchester, at what I would describe as the high point of Manchester Road. So meaning that drainage runs both west and east of where Cheshire intersects with Manchester. As a result, and typical of a lot of developers, they didn't put storm sewer in the high point. Through the curb line, water would run off Cheshire onto Manchester and run east and west till we encounter a catch basin. So if you look at this drawing, the green on the plan that shows up is there is a manhole that runs off of Manchester in the location where the green line ends if you were to extend it towards Manchester Road. Well, that's the closest point that we could pick up the existing utility runs a little bit further than that, almost to the back of the properties. You can see that. And there's an easement for that along the back of the properties on Thorpe Court. In order to drain properties off Cheshire Court, properties that I would call, I think I wrote these down, 1, 2, and 3 on them, but the properties that front the east side of Cheshire Court, in particular, have a drainage problem along their rear properties, as do a couple of the properties on Thorpe Court, where they back up to each other. In order to get positive drainage, the easiest route to take would be to come along the back property line. Back property line shown in red. And if you recall, that's a huge open space area. There's a segment of property that's owned by 7 individuals, and then there's a great number of acres in open space. The problem is the water accumulates along the back properties here. There's no place for the drainage to go. We after the last meeting, we looked back with the engineers about going directly to the front of to hit Manchester Road along the rear properties of the properties between Cheshire and Thorpe Court. And that posed a lot of problems. It posed a lot of problems for other utilities, driveways, sidewalk, to get to a catch basin on Thorpe Court. So the easiest solution that the engineers came up with, walking through the field, and we were with a couple other residents, is to come along the back and provide them some relief. Now, this would be a sewer that would be built somewhat along the back on private property. They would still probably have to put some French drains in themselves to get to the pipe, but at least would give them an outlet. They're the only court that doesn't have a storm drain outlet, and this is an issue that we talked. And we were advised at the last meeting we've got to be a little cautious about how much property or how much work we do on private property. But my personal feeling is that this is, we need to give these people an outlet. Most people do have an outlet out to the road. We could always go right out to the road, but that would cause a lot of, probably be more expensive construction out along Manchester. So it seems to be a cheaper solution, and it would seem to work better. So anyway, I want to open this up for questions from the commission first, and then we'll let the residents speak. Start. I know Jim Budney's been out there. You want to start, Jim?
I pretty much, you've said it quite eloquently, Bill, as usual. And the main thing is we do want to get some relief for these people that live along this area, and do it certainly as conservatively with our dollars as we can, as we always should. And this does not seem to be a bad way to go. That's all I have to say.
Jim,
right
you have
now.
anything to add?
I'm looking forward to the residents' comments.
Okay. John, you're...
I was wondering, Les, when did those streets go through? When did Manchester meet Manchester?
I don't remember. Les, do you remember?
It was before the 90s.
80s.
Yeah.
Before the 90s.
Yeah, it was before then.
It was back in the 70s.
It wasn't developed.
Was that a through?
The engineering problem that somehow was, which adds credence to.
Bill? Les, you have any comments?
No, this looks like a halfway decent plan.
Ted, you want to say anything at this point?
Just going to ask Les, what half don't you like?
They have to flood.
Okay, so the only thing I think I failed to mention is the way I look at it, with the drainage along the rear, this would, I think, affect 7 or 8 parcels anyway, with some drainage.
Are you planning on putting the drainage on the property owner's property along the courts? Because we have no access to that property behind.
They would have to give us easements in order to do this.
The people that live along these courts.
Right, that's a presumption. They would have to give us an easement. So, with that, let me invite Mr. DeClaudio to come up and introduce your neighbors, and you can address the issue.
I'm Nick DeClaudio from 26051 Cheshire Court. With me this evening, I have my wife Sharon, our neighbors Rochelle and Jim O'Brien, and Mark Lane. I do appreciate everything that this commission is doing for us. And in looking at this plan, it helps resolve the issues that the 3 families that are represented this evening are here, but it does nothing for the 2 families that are up closer to Manchester, who also have an issue, who unfortunately couldn't be here this evening. But they also have a drainage issue as well, for the same reason. As you mentioned earlier, Mr. Kostick, there are drains to the east and the west of us on every court, with the exception of Cheshire. Cheshire has a drain, a storm drain, on the west side, but not on the east side, which is exactly where we're talking about. So I think if we were looking to get the most value for the investment, to help 2 additional families by moving this drain just a little bit further north, to help them, I think would be a nice thing to do.
Well, that's a good point, and I need to address that issue. Number one, this cost estimate was put together conservatively. I talked to Russ Whitman with our engineering firm, and Russ said he didn't show he could have drawn the line that would show a smaller line through the tree area, but as you know from our meetings up there, the line's not going to be straight.
Right.
It's going to zigzag and zigzag. So he said there's plenty of extra built into the cost estimate to meander this line and even make it smaller once it's engineered. So he felt that this line would go north, but it wouldn't be a major storm sewer. It'd be more like a French drain to go through the tree area, and it would certainly not be a straight line. It would pick up the low spots, and through a combination of some grading and a French drain, he believes he could pick all that up. So what we're faced with is authorizing engineering to go out and come up with a plan and go get bids on this. That's what we're faced with. Okay, so I brought the issue up to him. He said, no, we figured that a line would meander, but it would be a 4-inch line, something of that sort, that would just carry water to the storm sewer. But this is a worst-case scenario of what would be needed. Maybe we wouldn't even need all this, but...
In discussions that we've had, the neighbors...
we haven't done an engineering plan yet, Nick.
Okay. In the discussions, and just so that you understand that the neighbors have had some discussion about this, and we want to relay that to you, the commission. We understand that, there is an importance to, preserve the beauty of our island, and we would much rather zigzag around a tree than go through it. So if that's what you were referring to, Mr. Kostick, we totally agree with you. None of us have a problem with that.
All the trees shown are about 40-foot high trees.
Yeah, they're all very mature trees. Yeah,
right.
We don't want to
So
lose any of them.
There is a way to not just zigzag, but curve and take the low spots through the areas to put some drainage in there, and that was anticipated that it would be done.
Okay.
Are you talking about the 2 lots closer to Manchester?
Yes, sir. The 2 lots north of our lots, if you look at that last catch basin between Cheshire and Thorpe Court, the 2 lots north of that have no relief. And they do have a lot of standing water in a heavy rain.
Okay, so can you describe a little bit the water problems you're experiencing?
Many of you have been out, and there was eyewitness of what we've been experiencing, especially with some of the rains that we've had in the last couple of years. We understand that even after a heavy rain, we're not going to resolve all of the issues, but we would like to see the rain at least carried off within a couple of 3 days, which now is 4 or 5 weeks before it gets absorbed into the soil, because there is no mechanical way of removing it. It's either absorbed or evaporates, and those are the only two means that the water in my yard and the O'Brien's and the Lane's yard will leave our yard. So it is a bit of a problem, especially in the warm days like today when we have standing water with mosquitoes and whatnot. So it is a concern. It's something that we've been working on for a couple of years. We, I think, engaged this committee about a year and a half ago.
Last summer.
And I think then you realize, yeah, there is a little bit of an issue. And I think up until 60 days ago, we didn't realize why we had an issue. And the issue was because there's no drain on exactly where you guys are putting this new drain.
Okay. Let the neighbors speak then.
Neighbors? If you want to have...
Mr. and Mrs. O'Brien or Mark Lang, you're welcome to come up to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Mark Lane. I live at 26038 Thorpe Court, and I've been a resident of Grosse Ile for about 2.5 years now. And in the 2.5 years that I've lived here, we've had standing water, just like we've been talking about here, and it doesn't go anywhere. Actually, Mr. O'Brien went and got a pump last year and pumped out the water onto the existing court. So we're looking for some relief. I don't mind having ducks back there, but not for months. If we can come to some resolution, it'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jim? Rochelle? This is your opportunity to address the commission. Don't be shy.
Hi there, I'm Rochelle O'Brien, 26035 Cheshire Court. I just want to add, yes, I think the trees are beautiful, but you can do whatever you need to do in my yard to help facilitate putting a drain in, because the problem is, it ends up causing vegetation problem for us anyway. I'm sure we've already lost plants, and there's every reason to believe we would lose these large trees if this doesn't get addressed anyway. So I just wanted to add that. This problem seems to have gotten, it could be attributed to the extremes in weather we've been experiencing the last few years, it seems like, than I recall, but it does seem to have gotten worse over the years.
How long have you lived there?
We have lived there 17 years. Yeah, and apparently there was a nickname for the body of water that develops when we moved in, the previous owners. Yeah, it was Lake Parent. Those were the previous owners. We didn't know that when we moved in, but yeah, I think the corner, initially there was a proposal there would be a drain on that corner of our property that sandwiches between the four properties. And it looks like that's not on that drawing. And that would, I think, just to alleviate more of the problems with the 2 yards that are along Manchester. Seems like it kind of initiates back towards us and back towards the DeClaudios. And then as the water grows, it spreads and spreads. It spreads early on into the lanes, and then it reaches those houses along Manchester as well.
Before you leave the podium, and you stay there, Nick, Jim, you and I were up there with John Keim and Bill Bettendorf from Rains. And you were both there. Jim was there as well. When we walked to go to the front, I'm trying to recall, we were discouraged by that because we encountered driveways, we encountered sidewalk, we encountered other utilities going to be in the way, and there were several not deciduous trees, but pine trees in people's front yards that would have to meander around. So it wasn't an easy resolution to go that way. We'd be disrupting everything along Manchester Road for a couple hundred feet anyway.
Right.
My memory correct?
Yes.
That's why this alternative rose
Yeah,
as a less disruptive alternative.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that it would need to go all the way to Manchester, but like Nick says, to give relief to those other families as well.
Well, we'd have to get to the existing sewer, which was at Thorpe Court.
Right.
And that's quite a distance to have to travel. So.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah. Well, as I said, we have. I'm going to make a suggestion. We haven't done. We have not authorized an engineering plan. We've authorized an analysis based on some shots that the survey crew took to get positive drainage. What I'd like to suggest to the commission, at least at this point, is that we take the plan that's been portrayed here and then look at actually engineering this, including some French drains. But I think it would, for the extra money, it might behoove us to also ask the engineers to look at what it would take to go to the front, give you an outlet, some fashion, for example, where the line goes between your properties, towards your properties, and stops. I think that's about it. If I recall, somebody has a patio in that area, or
no, I don't think so. No, that's all just open grass and green area.
all right. Well, at any rate,
Oh, our fire pit?
fire pit. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it's a fire
Well, anyway, if we could come up that direction through the tree line of ways, that would give you at least an outlet. So I'd like to suggest to the commission we look at this plan, ask the engineers to look as efficiently as possible, and also look at coming along Manchester as an alternative, and see which one bring us back a detailed plan in 60 days or so.
I welcome whatever you think would work best and would give us relief.
No, I think we should look at everything we can and have, so we have solid information to decide on. And the main, the main thing is that we come up with something that works.
I'd like to look at both options. So the motion would be, if we're going to proceed, unless we're not going to proceed, would be to ask the engineers, and I'll convey the appropriate language, to look at the plan here, do a detailed engineering plan on it with a more precise cost estimate. Hopefully it would be lower. I don't think the construction's that complex along the rear, and show more detail through the tree area, as well as an option to come through the tree area and go right to Manchester. Get both options. That would be the motion that I'd like to see us move forward with.
Just a couple of things. Couple of things. One is sometimes a tree has to go. Everybody is worried about saying, well, the tree's got to go. But the problem is if you let the water sit, are going to go.
That's what, yeah.
More and more and more. And you can look back in your woods,
Yeah.
and you can really see there's about a 20%, obviously I don't have a survey, you can't take one, 20% of the trees in your woods are dead, you think?
Yeah.
Probably.
No, I would totally agree with you, and you're right. There are trees that are down for the safety of our homes,
Right.
and power lines and everything else. And I think all the neighbors have been doing that consistently. There are trees, though, that are worth preserving, and I think
Of course.
yeah.
Sometimes.
That's the only comment I was trying to make, Mr. Riley.
In the precedent that I would like to make you aware of, that I'm aware of situations, one in Belleville, when or Bellevue, when there were trees that had to go. When Park Lane came through, there was one tree that was over 200 years old, healthy tree, had to go. And the people that owned the property were very honest. They came to the board and they said, hey, we can't make this project go without removing that tree. So the tree had to go. So sometimes there's a little bit of sacrifice. Going back a few years ago, perhaps more than a few, but not too long ago, when we did a water main project, if we had to knock out a tree because it had to go, and I'm not talking about the 200-year jobs, but if a nice tree had to go, my answer at the time, and some of the people on the water board, was plant two. If you have to take one of their trees, plant another one. Now, if the person that owns the property says, take my tree, and he gets two, or even gets one for one, and then the line goes straight, it'll probably drain better over time. Right. It's always a question of balance. And a little bit of the fingers in the dike. I would hope today that your property's dry. I hope, because it's very dry right now. So your timing coming up here is terrible because you're dry right now. but given that, there are going to be times when it's probably going to get wet, even with good engineering and good plans and some money spent. And there's a natural flow of water that comes from Grow Road right through that whole area. So if you stood on Meridian Road and you watched the heavy rain, you would see the water flowing northward right up the road. And that also happens in the woods. So no fix is 100%. So the finger in the dike's a good idea. I think it saved the town in that nursery rhyme. But nevertheless, it'll work, it'll be better, but it won't be perfect.
Right.
And if a tree has to go, especially if it's your tree and you have the election to do that, then it's your choice.
No, I totally agree with you, Mr. Riley. And I think the comment I was trying to make was that, in the event engineering can find a way to go around a tree, that would be fine with us. And what I meant by that was if they have to come into my yard 30 feet to do so, that's okay. But if it's better for the system to remove the tree, I understand. Okay?
I thought you would.
Okay.
And I think as far as those big trees, I think the engineers felt that they weren't a problem, that we could go around them. It's not going to be very deep anyway. What? Did you have a comment?
Yes.
You want to come up to the packet?
Manchester Street between the houses. There's no sewer on Manchester in front of those properties.
No.
And that's going to involve the county extending the sewer under the sidewalk all the way to the east. So there's a cost associated with that. That's all I want to make sure you're aware.
You have to deal with the county. We know that.
Yep.
Right. Thank you. And I know that Sharon, you're here. Do you want to speak, or Jim? Give everybody a chance. If not, that's okay.
Mark and my husband have added, except that I'm a gardener, and my backyard is that's my hobby. That's what I love. But in the wintertime, you can ice skate back there, and in the summertime, we raise ducks. Now, you're right. It's the best. It's the worst time right now with the drought we've had, and we are dry. I have to tell you, we are dry. It's like, please rain. But yeah, it makes it really difficult to walk back there. And of course, when it is wet, the mosquitoes are. You can't even be outside. I mean, I say my essence of summer is DEET. That's how I get through my gardening days. But I appreciate all of you listening. And I really do look forward to some type of relief to maybe not correct the problem 100%, but at least be able to make it a little bit more livable.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Jim O'Brien, last but not least.
Jim O'Brien, 26035 Cheshire Court. I just want to make one quick comment on Mr. Lane. Mr. Lane said I would have the pump out there trying to pump it out. That did not even really work. I would run, it wasn't a very big pump, but a very small pump for a good part of a day, and it was still up to my kneecaps at the end of the day. So I was either pumping the water out, and it was still coming from either the properties to the north and whatnot. So not that solution did not work. So that's it. Thank you.
Need a bigger pump.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much.
Can we have a motion? All right, I'll make a motion. I'd like to move that we authorize the engineers to do a detailed engineering study, be prepared to go out to bids, and bring back a report to us on the plan that's shown, and take a look at an alternative going along Manchester. Bring it back to our September 13th meeting. And the reason I say September 13th is we've been talking to staff. It would take them that long anyway, I think, to get a detailed plan ready for bids. But I don't think we have any agenda items. We may want to not have a meeting August 9th. We'll talk about that later. But what we're going to propose, I think, is to not have a meeting in August. That would be our September 13th meeting. And if that's approved, that's my motion. Come back with a report by that date. You're all invited to come back to that meeting as well. That's a motion.
Support.
Everybody's heard what I just said. You have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that's our direction. Okay. Thank you for being here. Okay, now we're going to back up. We have our engineer with us tonight. We're going to work Sohail out very well. First item is West River Road Water Main Project. And you all have in your packets a detailed description of that. And I've got to find it here. Page 21. So, Hale, I'd like to ask you to come up, but I want to just go through this from my perspective a little bit. So the motion is to authorize the Charles Rains Company to prepare engineering and design drawings for the water main replacement on West River Road from Church Road to Grosse Ile Parkway for submittal to Wayne County for their approval, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality for their approval, and who is you?
Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay, why the Corps of Engineers?
Because you are within 500 feet of a lake.
Of a
or
waterway,
stream
yeah.
By water body, so.
That's a new one for me, okay. All right, so the Corps of Engineers. So with the idea that the permitting review procedures may take a long time, this is a big project, so that's one issue. You have a revised estimated cost that was given you in front of you tonight, and let Sohail explain that, but I want to call your attention to a couple things. You look at page number map, page number 26. This is a map we finally have that shows in yellow, shows where the sewer would go, basically from Parkway all the way to Church. So I have one question on that. Does it actually go all the way to Parkway, or is there a water main under the bridge?
It goes to the treatment plant.
Goes to the treatment plant? Okay. So there is a 12-inch main.
There's a 12-inch water main underneath the canal up to the treatment plant.
Okay. And then you also see a bunch of red hash marks. That's the area near Lakewood Drive, where there's, I think, 11 residents that do not have sanitary sewer.
Sorry, they do have a sanitary sewer. It's connected to the old combined system that was tied into the new separated system. However, that main is old and needs to be addressed. So our goal is to research it, televise it, and see what condition it's in. We have two options to reconnect those sewers: either replace that old main that they're connected to now by slip lining it, or pipe bursting, or removal and replacement, or tying into the main across the street, which is 15 feet. We're looking into these options. I will come back with cost estimates for you on how much.
Okay, can you or Les explain to me, maybe you know, Ted, why was that area left off, just so we know?
What do you mean left off?
Well, there's adequate sanitary sewer north and south of there, right?
It was easier just to, the people were already tied into that sewer. So what they did is they bulkheaded the sewer as it comes out of Jewel Colony, and then they created the sewer so it'll go into the interceptor south of Lakewood. But that sewer is in such deplorable condition, and there's so much infiltration in that sewer, it's unbelievable. And the interceptor sewer on the other side of the street all has, I don't know if they have risers on them or not, but there is a place to connect those houses into that interceptor sewer. So you could eliminate that old crock sewer. And also you need to go north of Lakewood because there's some more houses up there that might be connected into that sewer.
Just talking about is what you see on this drawing here. I don't know. This is the line, the old line that remained in place that these sewers are tied into, and it does connect into that sewer. The other line that's talking about that may have the risers in it is across the street. That's this line here. But again, before we spend the money crossing the road, we like to evaluate the option of replacing the sewer or treating it with slip lining or pipe bursting first. If that's not an option, then we'll pursue the other option.
Okay, so that's a bit of an orientation. And if you go back to page 25 now, that map's on page 26. The water main on West River Road, so our plan is, since there's no right-of-way, is to build the new water pipe under the east lane of West River Road.
That's correct.
And this drawing, this profile here shows that if the water main is at below 6 feet well below the pavement surface, you have over that topsoil soil, and then 9 inches of sub-base gravel material, and then 10 inches of non-reinforced concrete, and then 1.5 inches asphalt. That's the profile. That's the plan, right?
That's correct. That's usually the county cross-section that they accept when you put the utility under the pavement. However, we are willing to pursue a cross-section that's made only of asphalt. It could be 10.5 inches of asphalt. It'll make it easier to place, and it may be more cost-effective that way.
So basically, what caught my attention is after we put the water main in and fill it 6 feet of earth over it, we basically have 2 feet of pavement with the sub-base gravel material, and then either concrete or asphalt, and then the 1.5 inch asphalt.
Actually, the backfill, since it's under the road, the county will insist that all the backfill will be granular. We don't backfill with sand, we backfill with crushed limestone to the base, then we'll put the base and the concrete and the asphalt. Then,
so it'll be one real good lane.
That has to be.
All right, I wanted to call everybody's attention to that fact. So the question I had is, where is the existing water main?
The existing water main meanders from the edge of the pavement halfway into the shoulder area. So it is plus or minus 3 feet from the edge of the pavement now.
And of course, if you look down West River, you have some properties that have 2 or 3 feet of grade elevation behind it, yep. Some that are level, some that are a little below it, so it's all over the place.
Well, this is the option that will give you one new lane on the West River Road.
So if we abandon the old water main, what will the county make us do there?
They will make you fill it with flowable film. First they're going to require that you remove it. Then we're going to push back, stating that we're not going to dig that main out. We like to fill it with flowable film. At that point, they'll ask for a resolution committing that if at any point there's a failure, you'll take care of it. And we've given them resolutions like this. We gave them one on East River Road from Manchester to Ferry. We gave them one from Ferry to the new section we just finished on Horse Mill. So we left the old main in place, and we're going to fill it with flowable film.
My final question would be, are we going to have to replace all our fire hydrants?
Yes.
They would all be new?
Yes. And they'll have storage connections to help the fire department to to connect to them much quicker.
Okay, those are the questions that I had. We have a cost estimate, as I said, that was on the table on your dais here tonight. Do you want to talk any more about the project, Sahal?
No, I mean, this is a project that's going to complete the 12-inch loop around the island. We've been looking forward to have this project completed. We just finished East River Road from Horse Mill to Ferry, and that finished at 12-inch on East River. And this will be the last 6-inch water main on West River Road. By replacing it, you'll end up with a full 12-inch loop around the whole island on the river roads.
Now, when we end up this project, we know we have a drainage problem, particularly if you're familiar with the golf course property, West Shore, the ditch along whatever ditch there is. Drainage is a problem all along the east side, which in some cases flows over the road towards the Trenton Channel. This project will address the drainage issues?
It will be addressing drainage. It may not be providing a brand new storm system on the east side, but it will be addressing the drainage in the form of shoulder point drainage to low points. Then we'll pick them up at the low point, cross the road, and take them to the river. That's the most feasible, cost-effective solution at this point. It'll be very costly to undertake a full drainage solution on the east side. Again, it's doing it now. We provide shoulder point, so the water will run along the shoulder line to a low point, and from there we'll take it to the river.
Okay. There are other questions? Table.
I have one. You're going to end up with a new road for half of West River for that length.
Yes.
And I realize that it's a whole different animal here to come up with the money to fix the whole road. But I think we should be thinking along those lines so that we could get the other side fixed as well. I know it's outside the box at this point. Let's get this going first, but I'd like to be thinking about.
Go to page 24 of your packet.
Yes, sir.
I asked how this got in the packet, but Sohal reminded me that I asked for it. I don't remember, but anyway, it's the same question. I guess I asked at a meeting, one of the meetings we had, what would it cost to do the other lane? But we don't have any money, number one. But I asked the question. So that's what that is. I don't remember asking, but you just asked, so here's
There it is.
Appreciate it.
Quick.
Can I write a check tonight, or you want it in the morning?
It's a good consideration, again, given that you're going to have one brand new lane and everybody's going to ask what happened to the other side. So
Right.
we thought it was a good question to ask, and we prepared the estimate for it.
So you have that, but we don't have any money, so there you go. I think it was much more than that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we get half, I mean, for 700.
I think we had basically 3 miles, and we were figuring 600. That was 1.8 million, and then I think we had another 400,000 in there for drainage. I recall something like that, but it was $2 million plus.
And that was strictly rotomilling and capping. It wasn't a full depth reconstruction. So.
And I suppose we'd be looking at this kind of expense with the water main project because we were going to put the water main in first, our old bond program, and then we'd have the expense of redoing that east shoulder, the northbound shoulder. At any rate.
I have just a thought, Bill. Along with what Phil just said, this might be the opportunity to put some pressure on Wayne County because it is their road. With our investment in this thing, that we do have a road millage that we collect money for. Be an opportunity to go to Wayne County and say, look, time to cough up. See if we can't get them to participate, if not fully, at least partially, rather than just say we can't do it. Take a look at an opportunity here and we can convince Wayne County that maybe, just maybe, this is an opportunity for them as well as for us.
I think that's a great comment, and so let's make a plan to do that. When we get our plan back, and you're ready to submit to the county, maybe we have a group go down and have a meeting with them.
Bill?
Take the plan or have them come here.
Yeah, when we spoke with Wayne County, they were asking for a proposal. So, yeah, I'm trying to, I can't remember the date.
Week or so.
Yeah, last Wednesday, I think.
We, Bill and myself and Dale and Brian met with contingent from Wayne County that included Mr. Evans came down and spent a few hours with us. I believe there were 9 of them that came down. Not everybody was roads. I mean, we had economic development was there, and his not chief of staff, I think assistant chief
deputy county executive.
Yes, but quite a few people. Mr. Evans had to leave early, but the rest of them did stay. They were here about 4 hours, 5 hours. So we had a good talk, and they were quite receptive to partnering with community. They were, of course, talking in terms of any community, but partnering with us and doing things differently than's been done in the past. Pretty much what we were dealing with previously was, well, here's what it is, and if you can't meet these, the standards to get money from us, then you're not going to get it. These people were willing to look at different ways of doing things. And that was quite refreshing to hear. So one of the things they asked is for us to send a proposal on a project, and we were going to just put one together theoretically. And here's one I think that we could use, that really is a real project, and see what they say. But it was, and they were talking about partnering in terms not only, dollar-wise, working with our permits, all types of things. So they were quite open-minded about what they would look at. So it pretty much left it to us to hear. Come to us and tell us what you want. So. And if it's within reason and we can do it, we'll help you out. So
that's good to hear. Their engineering staff is fully aware of West River Road. They've been looking at it for years. They had it on the federal aid list for a while, then they took it off because of the constraints of the right-of-way. That's good to hear that they're willing to work with you on it. So.
Yeah, and the purpose of the meeting was to have them come out here to Grosse Ile, the new administration, and to drive some of our roads. We did drive West River, we did drive Meridian, and East River, which are all part of the federal highway system. I don't think West River is, but East River and Meridian are. We also drove Church Road.
Yeah, I was going to add that. We showed them Church.
And we recognized and discussed with them that even though we don't have the traffic volumes as Brownstown or Canton Township or Livonia, we still have our problems here. The one thing we talked about at our last meeting, you may recall, I got some data from the Municipal League that showed that with the new transportation package by the year 2021, with the gas tax increases that'll take place in 2017 and beyond that, gas tax are going to go up slightly, and registration fees and some other revenues, that the municipalities in the state that get Act 51 money, gas and weight tax money, are going to see by the year 2021 a 60% increase in their revenue. Take a 60% increase in Wayne counties, it would go from about 59 million to 90 million. And some of that money should be used towards construction. The suggestion we talked about was, what if we put $500,000 into a road project a year? Could you put 50% more in? or match it, whatever. So
We have done that in the past with them, Mr. Chairman. We did Grow Road that way, 50-50, and they cooperated.
I know.
And so it's
the cost sharing programs have been abandoned
Yep.
because of money, but if the money's going to come back, they ought to reconsider it. That's a good suggestion, Ted. So the motion would be to authorize the engineers to do the engineering. When the engineering is done and more precise plans done, we'll hear about it that you're going to submit. I'd like to make sure you let us know if this is approved. And then when you go to submit the plans to the county, we ought to have some people from elected officials as well, maybe the township manager, have a meeting with them. Maybe they come out here and say, here's our plan. You consider getting it expedited for approval and or participating. So
in this case, we probably submit it to the design group downtown instead of going to permit right away, because that will take us directly into the channel you're heading into with the staff downtown.
very good. All right, so I'm looking for a motion.
Are you looking for a motion, or are you looking for a support? I'll make the motion then.
All right, well, I read the motion earlier.
You did. You did a nice job on that, Bill. And I'll reiterate it, okay? I'll make a motion to authorize Charles E. Raines Company to prepare engineering and design drawings for the water main replacement on West River from Church to Groseal Parkway for submittal to Wayne County, MDEQ, and USACE for permits.
There's support.
Support.
Supported that we authorize the engineering for the West River Road water main project. Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
I got a question, Sahil. When we replaced the water main from Church Road to Owens, there was a company that came in there, and what they did is they gave all the people temporary service. And they went through the old water main and put the new one in place of the old one. Now, I don't know what the name of that company was, but that was one of the slickest jobs that I saw them do out here.
It was PSI, and unfortunately, they're out of business. They were a very good company to deal with, and they did an excellent job just keeping the area very clean during construction. I remember them very well.
They were restoring as they were going. That's how good they were. But, you know, to put this underneath the road, I'm not in favor of putting it under the road. None of the water mains should go under the road. But if there's another company out there, like what those people did, we should look for them.
We can do what we did on East River Road, do directional drilling. The whole purpose going under the road is to get a new pavement, so we can replace part of the pavement with it.
Well, that's interesting, but if you have to dig up that main for a leak or something, up comes your new fancy road.
I'm hoping once we put it in, we don't have to worry about it for 100 years. So,
yeah. That's what they thought of Manchester, and I fixed 3 main breaks on Manchester.
That was cast iron, ductile iron?
Ductile iron pipe blew out. Not supposed to do that.
We're using polyethylene now. It's a great technology, great pipe system. So, but on this one here, it'll be class 54 ductile iron still go under the road. I mean, we have options. We have 3-4 options we can consider. But
yeah,
again, the road we have to dig it up and put it.
And I would think, that we have the technology to pretty well guarantee us that we're not going to have those problems. Anything can happen, obviously, but they're certainly not going to happen like what we see now around with our old stuff. So,
okay. So we're done with West River Road. I want you to stay here, Sohail. Okay. 2 real quick reports, Lorinda, on the manager's report. East River water main is done.
Yep, the East River water main project is completed. They're going to come back and do some final restoration due to the dry weather conditions, and we're still holding their retainage money until it's completed. On the second item, on the concrete road repairs, LaSalle Court is finished. It's open. The driveways are open. The residents are happy. The little bit of restoration that's to be done over there, they'll pick that up once they finish the rest of the concrete repairs, because they'll have their people out to do that all at one time. Currently, GV Cement was working over on Rivard Court, Grays Drive, where else? Park Lane, and I'm missing one, Cadillac. And they have a really big crew this year, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're done in 3 weeks with everything. Losing my voice. So they're moving forward. The only other thing I want to add is that over on Stout, that drainage project, it's all done. There's just 2 sprinklers that are left to be repaired over there, and Apex has been in contact with the residents, so they're going to finish that up. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Last item for discussion is item 12.2, the sanitary sewer TV program. And on pages 30 through 33 of your packet, you saw a letter from a company called Terra, and Terra's out of Kalamazoo. And I'm going to hand this over to Sohail in a minute, but Terra describes a project that we've talked about for a number of years. Before Lorinda was director and Barry Sedlak was here, he had along with our engineers, divided the township up into 5 segments. He always wanted to do a sanitary sewer cleaning, a TV inspection program, cleaning, and a repair program. So we've asked if our engineers could find somebody to do this similar work, and I'm going to let Sohail explain what he's discovered. But Terra Company is working now in Riverview.
That's correct.
And I'll let you explain that. But they have a proposal here, and as you can see, a 5-year program of cleaning the sewers, TV inspecting them, and so forth. Shows on page 32, their cost would be $648,000. Spread over 5 years. This year we did budget $150,000, if you recall, in the budget for that. We've always talked about spending $150,000 a year for this kind of a program. So, with that, there's a sheet of paper that was on your dais tonight that Sohail has prepared for additional information other than their proposal. So I'll let you explain the whole program. Would you read through your handout tonight?
I can. Before I do that, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, let me go back to the commitment the township made to DEQ, part of the administrative consent order, that we are committed to televise and clean the system, the whole system, every 5 years. It is part of the operation maintenance plan we submit to them the township submits to them on a yearly basis. So, having said that, having described that the township already considered doing this cleaning and televising over a 5-year period, we thought we'll talk to Terra Contracting. Terra Contracting is the contractor that's doing the cleaning and televising for Riverview as part of their SAW grant. Riverview is a recipient of a SAW grant. They went out for bids, received 3 bids, and Terra was the low bidder, so they awarded them the contract. The reason we looked at them is we've been very impressed with their performance, with the quality of work they're providing, with the videotapes and the support and the cooperation. And since Riverview is part of the Downriver Community Conference and they share what we call a cooperative bidding process with all Downriver communities, we thought the township could benefit from that. Instead of you going out for bids again, we'll ask Terra if they're willing to hold their price on Gross Seal. It'll be a simple change order to Riverview to do the work in Gross Seal. And that's why we asked them to provide this proposal. The price they provided is exactly what they're charging Riverview. So we discussed it with them. They came out and looked at the site. They looked at the manholes and the sewers, and they submitted this proposal saying they will hold their price as they gave Riverview, and they're willing to do the work if it's authorized. So again, the project was bid competitively as a public bid, so it wasn't something that we just handed it to them, Riverview handed it to them. The other thing is all their references checked out great. We talked to every reference, and now we're witnessing that the references were correct. They're doing a good job for us. You don't have to bid the project. You can save our fees for preparing specifications and going out for bids So it'll be a simple authorization. Then we'll talk to Riverview. They'll extend their contract to cover Grosse Ile. Again, I discussed the quality of work. It's very impressive. You are very welcome to come in and look at the videotapes they're giving us. Or also, if you wish, we can make arrangements for you to go see their work in the field. You see their trucks and their work. They are very synchronized. I mean, they have a cleaning crew and a televising crew. They're working very good in tandem with each other without any problems. And we have another community that we have another contractor doing the work there, and we have nothing but issues. So we're very happy with this work with Terra and Riverview. Again, we never knew them before. We were very apprehensive initially to recommend the award to them because we never dealt with them. But having checked their references, we made the recommendation, and so far we're very comfortable with their work. Again, it's a recommendation. You always reserve the option to decide, okay, let's go out for bids and see who else is out there. Maybe you can get a better price. Maybe you can get a different contractor to do the same. That's always an option to you. So, I mean, we're not trying to push them on the township. We're recommending them because we're happy with their quality and their price and their performance. But if you choose to go out for bids, that's also your option, your prerogative.
So, can you explain, either you or Lorinda, when you talk about the Downriver Community Conference, I know the Public Works directors have been meeting for several years now. How does this cooperative bidding, I mean, this particular bid was just for the city of Riverview, but the idea is they would extend the prices to other downriver communities? Is that...
Let me give you an example. I'm sorry, before...
That's okay. Go ahead.
We have bid before joint sealing and surface coating as a cooperative bidding process. Every year, some community will take it. For example, instead of everybody bidding the same project, one will bid it and incur the cost of bidding. The rest will benefit from that price. So last year, we had
the crack sealing.
The crack sealing that was bid in Riverview, that Gibraltar used, Flat Rock used, and Grosse Ile used.
Yep.
So it didn't go out for bids. Riverview paid the cost, and we all benefited from the bidding process, and the cost was pretty good. So it'll be treated as a change order to the main contract, but you pay the cost of the work as it's done.
When Riverview went out for the bids, how many bids did they get?
They received 3 bids. Actually, I don't have them with me. They received 3 bids. One was Terra. One was let me see if I have the list here somewhere. Just the list. Another company was Advanced Underground. That wasn't the low bidder. Oh, here it is. It was Terra, National Power Riding out of Chicago, and Advanced Underground Systems. They're local. I think they're out of Romulus. But Terra was a successful bidder. And the reason we're talking about Terra now, because they do have a contract. I can't recommend somebody that doesn't have a contract.
No, I know. I just wanted to see how many people had...
The people that pulled the specs were... 6 companies pulled specifications. But this market at the time got very busy because, again, of the SAW grants that are out there. Everybody that has a SAW grant has to do this work. So people didn't want to stretch themselves thin. And,
can you explain what SAW stands for? It's a state
it's a state grant that stands for stormwater and sanitary system, practically GIS. Technically what you're doing is you're developing an asset management for the sanitary and storm system. You analyze them, you do a mapping of them, and you assess their condition, and you come up with an asset management plan to maintain them for the future. Different than the sanitary, storm doesn't have any obligation to repair. With the sanitary, if you find defects, you are obligated to undertake them within a certain period of time and develop a rate structure that can cover that cost. So we did make 2 presentations on that.
Yes, you did.
To the commission before, and the township elected not to pursue.
And I think the key with the SAW grants is if you come up with a plan, you have to implement it or you pay the grant back.
On the sanitary side, yeah.
So I think, and we'll open it up for discussion, we need, with this kind of money, and we've talked about it a long time, I think we need to do our due diligence. So I would like to have in writing from you before our next meeting, or before we I don't expect to see a motion tonight on this, have those bids, at least a summary of them, in writing from you. So we have that as part of our packet. I would hate to go with something like this to the township board, not having those dollars and figures and precise information about who the firms were without having that in hand. That's number one. Number two, I'd like us to pursue some references, not just Riverview, but one or two others. It's a lot of money where they've done a multi-year program before. Perhaps you can assist us there, but most importantly, as you suggested, I think we ought to have a field trip to do our due diligence. I'm going to propose we not have a meeting in August because we don't have any agenda items unless we want to have a meeting in August. But sometime between now and before our September meeting, I'd like to ask Lorinda and engineers to organize a field trip where those of you that want to can go over and watch the operation. Now, in my career, I've been involved in this. I've seen the truck that houses the television screen, and you can watch the the camera go through the sewer pipe. You can see clearly what's in the sewer, and as it's being pulled through the sewer, it shows you the number of feet it's from one manhole to the next. So if 31 feet down the pipe you hit a failure, you know exactly where that is, measured from the center point of the manhole to that 31-foot mark. So when you go to dig it up, but you have a record then of what's where, and anybody can go in and review the tape at a later date.
And I'm sorry, this company, to add to what you're mentioning, Mr. Chairman, they have the capabilities of doing their own assessment of the pipe and providing that to you instead of having somebody else review it.
So my own point is, I'd like to see us organize a field trip, and we'll have some discussion how we're going to do that, where those of us that want to can go and meet the company and see what they're doing, so that we can come back and have a more intelligent discussion about how this works. It's a lot of money we're talking about.
They put it on a tape or put it on a disc?
They're putting it on thumb drives. And
well, really, you could have a thumb drive, put it in your own computer and look.
That's how we're doing.
You really wouldn't have to go anywhere.
That's how we're reviewing it.
Well, you wouldn't have to, John, and you're still working, I know, but the fact is...
I'm trying to figure out how useful this is for review at a later date, because none of us have 100% recall. You can't have it, especially visual. It's impossible. You can visualize some things, but you can't visualize it all. So if we have a couple of thumb drives, they're cheap, and you can look at them whenever you want to. 3 months later, you want to go back and look at the thumb drive again, you can look at it.
Now, if you undertake this program, they will provide you the taping record on thumb drives for you. Actually, they give you multiple copies.
And before thumb drives, there were tapes.
No, I understand why you said tapes, but we all say tapes right now, and there aren't anymore. If you try and play old football tapes, you got a hard problem. You can't do it.
Well, yeah, the only issue is we just gave them another change order, and they're going to be finished very soon, so we probably have a month window to go out and take a look at them in the field. If you decide, we'll give you when they're going to be finished so we can put them on notice.
When are they going to be finished in the field?
I think their deadline is August 30th. They should be finished by then.
We'll have to do it sooner than later.
Yeah.
And I just want to comment that my firm that I retired from, I recall last year, guys, going back and looking at tapes that were 10 years old where this community finally had some money to go fix some sewers. And they would sit there and just go through and start to make notes on map where they were going to go and make the digs and so forth, make the repairs. And that could be the bind we're in, too. We might find a lot more than we want to find. But I think it's something we should do. So, at any rate.
Well, we did some of the sewers here on the island, and they're on DVD discs. I don't know where they're at, but they're here somewhere.
We probably have some copies, and DPW may have other copies of them. Usually, we get them. We get them in duplicates. Yes. We have tapes that are VHS. We had some that were Betamax, big ones, but
Super 8.
The latest ones we've been receiving are on CD or DVD drives.
So. What was the August 1st date you mentioned?
The August 30th is their completion date in Riverview.
Oh, okay.
We gave them a change order to do more sanitary sewers because of their price. We like their price and their performance. Then we gave them another change order.
And our, excuse me, our commitment to the DEQ is what?
Your commitment to the DEQ is in the form of an operation and maintenance work plan that you submit by January 15th of every year. That requires you to give them a budget that you're going to be spending on operation and maintaining of your, not only the sanitary system, collection system, also the pump stations.
Right,
and
right.
and so that is delineated in a document that's about, I'm going to guess, 10 pages long.
Sure, I remembered the document. I think that you probably need to put together a fiscal impact study so that when this comes before the board or the residents, they know what kind of a fiscal impact this is going to have on our water and sewer bill. That's going to be the first question they're going to ask.
And that's after the TVing is done, or just before the commitment?
We got to approve the stuff, and so we need to know going forward. We're going to have to commit close to $1 million here, I think. About $1,000
for the repairs, you mean, for the treatment
right.
system? Yes.
So
yes.
I would think that $1 million is not out of the reach. We need to know what our fiscal impact to the community, to the residents are, so that we can answer those questions when it comes forward.
Ted, we did budget $150,000 last year and didn't spend it, and again this year.
I understand that.
And that's to do the survey. And I understand what you're saying, but we might identify a lot of repairs that have to be made. On the other hand, we may stop a lot of infiltration and inflow.
No doubt.
When we run into it too, so that would save the other.
Let's say it's a bad idea.
No, I know.
Got to have our numbers together before we bring this forward to the board to move forward. Yep. And we're coming up on budgets again. We need to have this all prepared so we know what to project out on the budgets.
We do have certified staff that could assess those tapes as they look at them from the TVing of the sewers, and they can put a rating on the defect and the cost, and at the end of the day you can come up with a total cost of the needs, then you can budget them accordingly.
Okay, so I don't know how to talk about a date. Who would be interested in going on a field trip to look at this? Les, you've already seen this stuff? You don't feel like you need to go? You want to go?
Well, I'll go.
Go?
So who's going to
Depends,
go?
right?
Just I'll go. It depends on the dates. Sure.
It all depends, right?
Yeah. We're all interested in
Ohio.
You buying lunch?
process.
Check with Tara and find out when. I'll throw out some dates to these guys then, when they're available. Okay.
So who are you going to check with?
Well, Tara, and see what dates are available for them.
Who
Then I'll
from,
throw 'em out to you.
I know your situation, so somebody from your office.
Bruce Hammond will be taking
Bruce
care of it.
Hammond, you'll work with Bruce Hammond. Pick a date out, say in a couple weeks?
You know what, too? When we did the chip sealing, they had a pretty good marketing package. The guy that came around gave us the pitch, had a disc, you could look at it yourself, had some little sample stuff. Do they have anything like that, Tara? They must have a marketing pitch.
I think they do. I wasn't involved, and my staff was involved with the negotiations
Because if
with them.
they do, we should
and the
see that
review.
on the front end before we go over to look at the real.
We will definitely ask them, and we'll probably make that material available to you. So I hope they have it, because
Then you know what you're looking at before you get there.
Sure. I'll check with staff tomorrow, and if they have it, we'll forward it to you. Okay?
Bruce Hammond that is with you.
Yes. He used to be the DPW director in Flat Rock for 30 years.
Retired from Flat Rock. What's that MPA stand for? Retired Flat Rock?
What?
What MPA?
After his name, it says MPA.
Masters in Public Administration.
I don't see. Is that on a letter somewhere?
I don't have it on mine.
On this letter.
Oh, on Tara's
On
letter.
Tara's.
The letter to Bruce Hammond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he must have a
He
master's in
must
public
have a
administration, I guess.
public
Maybe.
administration.
I don't know. It's unusual to sign letters with those kind of
All right.
designations unless there's a reason.
Well, he's an MPA or whatever.
I will find out from him and submit it. I know he did graduate from college. He may have a master's or something.
It's on this one.
You know, Bruce Hammond interviewed for the
Yeah,
DPW
Dale's an
job over
MPA.
here.
Yeah, Master of Public Administration. Yes, Master's in.
Many years ago when Eddie
Oh, Bruce
Phillips
did.
retired.
Okay.
Flat Rock, they found out that he was leaving, and they increased his wage very significantly.
We're very happy that he's on board. That's all I can tell you.
Okay, so we've had a lot of discussion on this. Is that a plan to proceed?
That's
See
the
if we can
plan.
come up with.
Yep.
Why don't you try to come up with 2 or 3 dates over maybe a 2-week period, and we'll see how many can attend. And there's always a possibility, if it doesn't work for everybody, that
Yeah.
you couldn't make it, Phil. Maybe you and I'd run out one day.
Right.
Is your preference morning or afternoon, or either one will propose few times and dates and see what happens?
You don't have to worry about it. I know your schedule, so we'll take care of it. I don't want you to get any gray hair.
Too late.
If they're running, the morning's better. It's not as hot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right, so you know what you're going to do.
I know what I'm going to do.
What morning?
Well, I want to thank you for all your effort in this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ohio.
See how it goes. Okay, so is there anything else that we need to ask Sohail before he leaves? All right, thanks for being here tonight. Chairman's report. Next item. I don't have anything else to report on, just a comment, but I would like to suggest that we forego our meeting on August 9th. We really don't have any agenda items to bring back. The neighborhood pavement program's going well, full bore right now, and we're going to get the report back on Cheshire on September 13th. Everybody okay with that? So, is there anybody that objects? Okay, so we're going to meet. We're going to plan our next meeting for September 13th. You know, the only other comment I want to make, now that I'm retired, this afternoon had an opportunity to watch some of the. Maybe my comments aren't going to be appropriate, but it struck me as I sat there watching the funeral memorial service for the 5 police officers in Dallas. What struck me about it is there was a lot of emphasis on public safety. And we'll look at our community. I wanted to just make a comment that in terms of public safety, we appreciate our police officers here and all they do. We appreciate our fire department and all they do for us, for our community. And then I got thinking about the Flint water situation. I got thinking about many of the decisions we're asked to make. Well, we're not the final body, we're just advisory, but we spend a lot of time talking about things that involve public safety. Our water system, talked about extensively, both for fire protection and make sure people have water. Our sewer, all the sewer discussions we have to make sure that we aren't polluting or minimize whatever pollution might occur in our waterways. We do the best we can with the dollars we have available. And then our emphasis on our roads. We're always concerned about safety on our roads. So my point is, a lot of public works is also safety related, and certainly health related. I want to just say I appreciate all of study and involvement that you people have in what we do. We make recommendations, and I think we spend time trying to make good recommendations to our township board. So just wanted to say I sort of related that in my mind. But the work that we do on this commission, we're really privileged to be on this commission. And public works don't get enough credit for that, I don't think. It's public safety, so. That's it for the chairman. We'll go around the table. Jim Budney.
Nothing really to add, other than I do want to emphasize that our meeting with the Wayne County people really did go well, and I'm hopeful that our partnering in the future with them will pay dividends for us. And That's it.
I guess it's worthy to add that we forgot to mention they were well aware of communities and people complaining about their permit office,
Yes.
particularly the development community.
You had to be there, but it was interesting that when you have the big guy there, and Warren Evans was there, that all his people were very comfortable to speak to us in front of the boss and not just sit there and, okay, he's here, let him talk. Everybody there spoke and spoke freely, and it kind of gave you an idea of what type of operation is running there now, which was quite nice to see.
Thank you. Jim Nelson.
Nothing further.
John Riley.
Just something briefly. In regards to public service and the Public Works Department, our guys here, really important to do good work at all levels. And it kind of struck me this morning in a comical way. I'm driving back from Washington, D.C. If you come out of Washington in the morning, it's not quite as bad as coming in, but it's still pretty bad. So you have to take different alternate routes. And signage is extremely important. So your comment made me think about this and chortle a bit. So you have to divert and go a different direction, come to a very busy three-way T intersection. And the I-495, pretty good size route, everybody drives it. The signs must be that big. You have to know where this is. You got one shot to make this turn. It's busy as unbelievable. So when I got up to the turn, I know where that turn is, and I'm forced to take it certain times. Can you believe that only part of the 4 was observable and the rest of the sign was completely covered over with the non-trimming of branches? Like Wayne County trims our stuff out here. They come out. It's really important trim. Simple job like that could cause an accident someday. Some guy's looking for that sign, doesn't see it, pow. I mean, even the smallest thing sometimes is very, very important. I hope that was delivered okay.
Anything else?
No.
No.
At the time we had the chip sealing done, we weren't satisfied. Is there anything further on that? Have we contacted the company, or is any resolution, or?
No. The answer is no. And I recall talking to the contractor after it was done,
Right.
a month after it
And
was
he was
done,
gonna-
and he said, well, let's wait till spring, and we didn't follow up.
We need to do that.
Still drives different than the others.
Yeah. That's out of curiosity more than anything. Every time I go down it comes into mind, and then when I come to the meeting, I forget about it.
Right, I made a note.
Because we're going to do more chip sealing down the road, and I think if we need to know at least what happened there, or what occurred, or how to preclude it from happening again.
See if we can get them out.
Great.
And I got a question for you. What happened in front of the Presbyterian Church? All the drainage or something.
Where that part collapsed?
I don't know what happened.
I think what happened was it's been a while since I've been up there. We've been over at our cottage, but I think the drain under the road there, under the driveway there, it collapsed.
Under your drive?
Under our driveway, yes.
It seemed like it was in a grass area that they had not cut the grass and stuff for some problem. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was sewer collapse.
I know that at the west driveway, their corner there collapsed.
Okay. There was some other work done in the front yard, in the grass area. But
I don't know about that.
You used to be involved in all that, I know.
Well, I did.
But at any rate.
I'll find out.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Not for me.
Les?
Are you getting any complaints about the dust pond?
No.
I've received a couple. As a matter of fact, it's even doing it on my street, that it's breaking up.
And I don't know if they've changed the mixing of it or whatever they did to it, but it's not the same as the older stuff that they put down. And I noticed it the other day coming back on Groseal Waterway. There was a truck going down Waterway, and all I could see is brown dust flying. So who would be calling you up and complaining right off the bat would be Billy York.
I've not
But
heard anything from him.
Billy York is no longer with us. Billy York passed away. And like I say, I noticed it on my street. Then the cars go flying down there, I see this brown cloud of dust coming up. Because whatever he put on the edges of the road, it seems like it's worn off to the old stuff, but the stuff that the new stuff is all busted up and gone. So anyhow, the other thing is, what about the county? Are they trimming the roads, or this is a thing of the past?
No, they'll be out here, but it's going to be later than normal. They've been out in like the New Boston area working. So I do know that DPS, Wayne County Sibley Yard's been out doing some ditching. So they've been out here, but
that was,
haven't seen
I'm just
the cuttings
surprised
yet.
that there isn't any accidents, because some of these intersections are so overgrown, and the people got to get out so far to see.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Now the other thing I have is, you need to get a hold of the county and have them come out and look at the hump bridge.
The hump
if you know what bridge I'm talking about, it's Groseal Parkway Bridge over West River Road.
Oh, okay.
I noticed it when I came back from up north. As soon as I came on the island, it just about shook my van, and I'm going, wow. So today when I came back on the island, I tried to look and see what is going on. With all these trucks going off and on this island, they're just pounding stuff around that bridge, and before long, you know what's going to happen. We're going to have to shut down and do that bridge over again. They need to get up there and put some coal patch in so these trucks aren't pounding it day in and day out. And it needs to be done soon.
That's where do you mean exactly?
As you're coming on the island?
From the county bridge, the Free Bridge?
Yeah.
You
I
come
know
off
the
the
hump
Free
bridge over
Bridge
West
and you
River
go
Road.
over.
I know what
I
he's
always call it the hump bridge. It goes over West River Road.
Okay.
So you go over the bridge, you go wham. It just, wow.
I have to pay attention.
Even going off the island now, it's getting bad going off the island. And
It stirs a lot of motorcycle. You really feel it.
How's it changed? Are there potholes, or is it?
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
It never used to be a bone shaker when you go over that bridge.
Okay.
These trucks are just pounding it down.
I do notice the trucks seem to be going awfully fast over that bridge, some of them.
I'll bring it up to the
We have all those
construction company, see if they'll do something about it. They are responsible for these roads.
What's the end date on that stuff out here? Guessing.
Shooting for mid-September.
You're going to be trucking this heavy till then?
Well, they pretty much got the base work done now, and next comes the flow boys, the asphalt trucks. And that'll be a concentrated asphalt, a mile of asphalt. So that'll probably be most of August will be asphalt trucks running back and forth. Won't be loaded both ways because they're just going to be bringing it on and paving. Right now, they're bringing on aggregate and they're taking off fill. Trucks are loaded going both ways right now.
Ted, do you have any idea? That'll be full depth asphalt, but would it be 7 inches, 9 inches? You have any 5 inches?
Oh, they've got almost got almost 9 inches of an aggregate that they put down to 100% compaction. You can literally drive a semi on it. That's how compact it is. And they're going to do 5 inches over the top of that.
Okay.
I'm surprised that you haven't had more complaints about the noise from these trucks. Because, I just got back from 2 weeks up north. And I talked to Donna Depa, and she took a day off one day while these trucks were running. She said, my God, I can't believe how loud those trucks are. And I've been hearing this all summer long. I mean, I'm a truck driver myself, and I know when you're hitting these air brakes and this stuff. But there's one truck out there that sounds like he's running over somebody when the air escapes when they go to stop. I don't know what's wrong with his system. But today, I'm just sitting there going, I says, man, I think I better pack up and go back up north where all you hear is the birds.
Come back in November, it should be done with.
Yeah.
Okay, it seems like we've gone around. Ted, anything else? With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn the
Support.
meeting.
Supported, the meeting be adjourned. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Our next meeting will be September 13th. Thank you.